Hey, Star Wars fans. It's Joe with the Rule of the Galaxy crew, and welcome back to another episode, another chapter of Rule the Galaxy, one of your favorite podcasts, obviously, because you're listening to it. So, thank you for giving us a listen. We are at chapter 83, believe it or not. And before we went on air, we were discussing that it was actually a year ago this week that we revived Rule of the Galaxy after Joey and I started it in January of 2020. Myself and the crew, Alfie and Mass, were part of that. They're here tonight. We started it back up, I believe, June 6th of last year. And here we are, a full year later. I don't think we've missed a beat. We've been going, I think we took off Christmas week, and that was about it. So again, chapter 83, Rule of the Galaxy. You can follow us as usual, Rule the Galaxy. Oh, I'm sorry, at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us at ruletheGalaxySW@gmail.com. Follow us, subscribe, everything like that. Rule the Galaxy on YouTube, Rule the Galaxy on Facebook. And hey, we'll get this party started here. And I'll introduce the co-host, Alfie. Welcome back again. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. I can't believe it's been a year. It's flown by, and I really didn't think I'd be doing this every week, but it's been a lot of fun.
I agree. Now, my wife will tell you it feels like it's been more than a year. So we've got that angle of it. But you're right. Who would have thought a year ago that this ragtag crew that we've got would be getting together at least once a week and doing this show and having fun doing it and having some adventures as well. So, Mass, good to see you too, brother. Hopefully you're doing well. How's everything going?
I'm doing pretty well, and I have, I've come up with a counter to every time she calls me a Star Wars nerd, because she took me to Chicago a couple weeks ago, and we went to the Friends experience. They had all the sets set up and everything, and you could walk through there, and we get through walking through there, and I'm like, Friends is your Star Wars. I'm
I like that.
She collects stuff. She's got like all kinds of shit for that. So
What does she collect from Friends?
she's got all kinds of stuff. She's got like one of those, I don't know how much you watch the show, but where the peephole,
Yes.
they had the little yellow thing around the peephole.
Mm-hmm.
She's got one of those that it covers her phone. So it looks like the front door for Friends. We've got a Central Perk, ornament for the tree. We've got all kinds of stuff.
You know what? I think you've just hit on something. Maybe we should do a mashup party sometime here this summer. Friends meet Star Wars and see who shows up in what outfit or apparel or whatever. Alfie.
That was a great episode of Friends, where she dressed up as Princess Leia at the end.
Yeah.
For Aniston.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with you on that. And I think we've agreed. Massengale, I was told recently by his significant other, Kelly, that he now had put his Mount Rushmore of Star Wars characters in the bedroom. And she did not really approve of that. And we both discussed at the get-together that the only thing that should be allowed in the bedroom of Star Wars is the Princess Leia costume from Return of the Jedi.
Well, it would be in the office, except it's no longer my office. It's her office. She doesn't want Star Wars stuff in her office. So, I'm not putting them in the bathroom. So that just leaves the bedroom. That's it. That's all I got. I don't have a big place.
Well, Mass, if you want, I will be more than happy to add them to the museum here at the Molinaro residence, and I'll have a special shelf just for you with your Mount Rushmore. We'll call that the Mass segment of the museum. So,
is that what the new bookshelf is for? It's for me.
We get one shelf. I'll give you one shelf.
One shelf. Yeah, they can't come here because they'll get opened.
You're right.
Everything gets opened here.
Well, speaking of opening things, I'll just hop into this real quick. At DDoc42, Dave, thank you so much again. I know I put it on YouTube, but for those of you who are watching the podcast on YouTube. This is a fabulous sign. I haven't had the chance to put it up on the wall. It's very thick. It's very heavy, and the craftsmanship is
It's very
awesome.
cool.
And
It's awesome.
yeah, I have a feeling that some of the Rule of the Galaxy crew members are going to want to order these for upcoming holidays because he does some great work. So at DDoc42, Dave, thank you so much again. I know I said thanks on YouTube earlier, but the sign's great. I will have it up soon. My problem is, if you see behind me, I'm at an angle. I'm in the corner. I wanted my desk in the corner, and so I've got one wall over here which is covered, as everyone knows, and then the other wall over there that's covered. So if I'm going to put this up, I have to rearrange, and my mind doesn't do well with rearranging. So I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. But that's another story for another time, and another problem for me on my own. So real quick, I will announce that my son Joey today, he posted, he's been looking for anything and everything Ben Solo, because there just really isn't anything that's Ben Solo. Plenty of Kylo Ren, but he did find today at D's Toys, and if you can see the card here, D's Toys in Indianapolis, check them out. He was there, and they have an entire wall of Funko Pops. Alfie, you're not allowed.
No.
And he
Banned.
he found a Ben Solo Funko Pop that we knew was coming out, or that was out. There it was right there. So thank you, D's Toys, for doing that. As always, a quick shout out to our friends at Chewy's Cantina on Facebook. They have been awesome. Lucas Butler runs that group. If you're on Facebook and you want to do something cool, go follow Chewy's Cantina. I've been looking for, totally off topic from Star Wars, I've been looking for the superheroes 1984 version of Green Arrow, which is like 3.75 character of Green Arrow. I've got the 8-inch version of him, but Lucas was able to help me find that today at a very reasonable price. So thank you, Lucas. I just think it's great. Star Wars fans, nerd fans, helping each other out everywhere. So that's really good. But guys, we're on show number 83, like we talked about, which is crazy. And is there any topic you want to start with, or you want me to just start throwing things at the wall and see where we go from there? Alfie, I know you said you had some gears that were being grinded by something. So if you want to bring
Yes.
that up, we can start with that and let you lead the way on that.
Okay. So if you've listened to the show, you watch us on YouTube, just like you, Joe, we are a total Star Wars family.
Yep.
We buy way too much. I buy way too much. My daughter is 2 years old and is just crazy about Star Wars. Her favorite character is Rey and Kylo Ren.
Okay.
Plenty of Kylo Ren stuff to find. So she wants some Rey figures. I get online and I look, and I find the 3.75-inch Rey figure from the Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
$199.99 plus shipping.
What was this, the gold version of something?
No, it's just the regular. I think there was 5 different ones offered on Amazon, and the cheapest was $140 plus like $20 shipping.
I don't have that version at all. Was it? I'm guessing it was still in the box.
In the box, it's the vintage collection.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in the white outfit from the Rise of Skywalker.
Ah, the white outfit. Yeah.
But
you know what? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy talk right there.
You're telling me the tentpole of your franchise, Disney came out with the whole line of clothing for girls rule the galaxy, the Force is female, all this stuff, and you can't buy a Rey figure in the store?
The only one I could ever find was Rey from The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Or know what? I found the Rey from The Last Jedi in the 6-inch version, but I haven't seen anything in The Rise of Skywalker, especially the white outfit.
No. I found probably 10 different Reys from The Last Jedi in the Rise of Skywalker. A couple of them were in like 5 to 6 character sets. Put them all in the cart on Amazon, $150. Not too bad. But one figure for $200? What did they make, 10 of them? I mean, like I said, she is who you
Right.
put the franchise behind.
Right.
And you could go to Target today and there's nothing Star Wars. You go to Walmart, there's nothing. The shelves are empty except for Quill or Grief Karga.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because I always see the guys who are posting things on social media where they've gone through and filled their carts, or they've gone and found this, or it's empty shelves.
Right.
But the new ones, the smaller ones, like 3-inch or whatever, the
The
mini
Mission
ones,
Fleet.
mission fleets, those are everywhere. I do see those. Maybe not of Ray, but I see them of other
Right.
characters.
But if you get online and see how many of those Mission Fleet there actually are, you realize how small of a selection that you
Really?
see in the store. Yes.
Okay. Well, that was one section that I was never really into. I was not going to buy those. So that's sad to hear that it's a limited thing. I honestly, you're right. I will see one character here or there of either
Right.
3.75 or 6-inch at
But
Target, at Walmart, all
you
those
can go to
places.
Target today because I was there and I looked just to make this point. There is the same exact Lightning McQueen that I have bought for 20 years worth of nephews and cousins. There's the same Woody and,
Yeah,
and
there
Buzz.
is. There
It's
is.
the same exact one and they're still selling it. You can't, there's nowhere to buy Star Wars stuff reliably except for Five Below.
Five Below does usually have a good selection. And then you're right. The only other place that I found is online, unless
Yeah.
you want to pay the higher prices. I mean, these toys, yeah, like I said, I like it. You got a great selection, but I don't want to pay the prices that you have to pay at these toys to get
Yeah.
the ones that I can't get at
Not
Target.
everyone is a collector, and I'm just as guilty because I buy, the Black Series,
Right.
but all of our stuff is open and it gets played with every day. I'm just asking for the basic figures.
Right.
There's no reason why there can't be Luke, Han, R2, Leia, Ray, Kylo Ren on the shelves.
Yep. Agreed. 100%. I
And,
mean, it's a madhouse.
we have these right now that get played with the most. They came from Five Below,
Oh yeah.
$3. So who makes these? I don't know. Not Hasbro.
Yeah, they're the more plastic. They're like
Yeah.
plastic instead of rubbery, right? And they're
Right.
5 inches instead of 3.75 or
Yes.
something. Yeah. I mean, I grabbed some of those as well because they're inexpensive and they look good up on a shelf, right?
And you can actually buy them
Right.
in the store.
It is kind of weird to think that we love a franchise that, again, I say it all the time, is based on kids 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but yet you can't feed maybe what they want or make them bigger fans with buying things off the shelf because it's just not there.
No, everything I buy is from Amazon or online because there's just never anything in the store unless you go to an out of the way place and you hit the jackpot and you'll go to that one Target like I did in Florida.
Right. Got me my
And
Jar
it was-
Jar.
Yeah, and it was completely full.
Mass, you just built your Mount Rushmore. Where did you find most of those items?
Online. What's that place called? McCurry? Yeah, that's where I found most of them. And then I think I got some on eBay. It was eBay and McCurry's where I got all of them.
Okay.
But this whole toy shortage, it's probably not her fault, but I'm going to blame Kathleen Kennedy. And if it's not her fault, it's Ryan Johnson's fault.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
hold on now. I read a really good article today about this. I think I think you and I both follow him, Joe. Is it Bantha Skull?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had an article about that, about how the Solo toys failed so badly. And was it the fault of The Last Jedi? Because if you remember, I do remember when The Last Jedi came out, there were toys.
Yep.
But when you went to Walmart, there was 36 Rose and Paige.
Yep.
And nothing else. And those just rotted on the peg still. They were selling them for 50 cents.
In honor of trying to be a good person, I did buy a Rose Tico, just to let everyone know.
I did. I bought one too. I bought one for 50 cents at Walmart. They had a box of them.
Wow. Well, I will say this. You don't want one? Okay. You don't have to have one. I will say this. I think it was Vindiana Jones is his name on Twitter. He's a good follow. But when they announced that the Captain Rex 6-inch is coming back out, which I paid ungodly amounts too much money for because it was an exclusive, I think, and all that kind of stuff, right? Maybe a Walgreens exclusive. Anyway.
Wasn't that the Walgreens exclusive that like 9/10 of the shipment got sent to one store? Something like that.
Yeah. So Vindiana Jones on Twitter today, when they said they were coming out, said, I bought 5 of these at Ross for $3.99 each. $3.99. And now they're coming back out with them and selling them again, but they're not doing it through that exclusive thing. They're doing it through Entertainment Earth and Hasbro Pulse and all that, where you can go buy them directly at $22. So,
and that's the thing I don't understand about the pre-order thing. Like on the May the 4th, that Boba Fett figure sold out in 15 seconds or whatever. If you're taking pre-orders, why is there a limit?
Right. Shouldn't you be making the amount that get ordered?
Yeah, you've already made the molds. You've already got the contract for, the packaging. Why wouldn't you just make as many as you can sell in pre-orders?
That is a good question.
It's never going to hit the shelves anyway. So
no.
Why wouldn't you just take as many pre-orders as you can?
I would really, if I could get a job somewhere, one of the places I'd like to work is Hasbro, because I want to know the inner workings. I mean, I have the mind of a child, but I also understand business. So I think that would be a good Hasbro. If you're listening, 50-year-old man, lots of experience in sales, lots of experience in action figures. We can negotiate. We'll talk, because I think I could figure this out. But
I have a lot of experience in blow mold machines. So I've worked with plastics injection molding.
You have.
So hit me up too.
There we go.
Give you a link to my resume.
Hasbro, we'd probably even do it as independent contractors, just as a side gig as a consultant.
I have no experience whatsoever in anything that has to do with toys. So give me a call too.
So I'm throwing this out there because Rex is coming back out. I'm a big believer that the reason that he's coming back out now is in the very near future in Bad Batch, he's going to be on screen, which means people are going to see him. It's going to revitalize. Hey, gosh, we should have Rex up there. Now, the pre-orders are now, but they don't come out until November. But still, it's going to get people wanting to buy it. So that's my theory. I don't know if you guys think I'm way off base or not, but that was what I thought. Is he's going to show up in Bad Batch. People are going to be like, we need to get Rex characters, and boop, Disney and Lucasfilm have them ready to go.
Yeah, I don't see him not showing up in any of the live action series.
True. Very true. So
you're pretty much getting the band back together for all of it. So why not include him too?
I agree.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
So going to the next round with that conversation there with Bad Batch, with Rex, let's just hop right into the most recent episode of Bad Batch. I had a few thoughts on it. I mean, it was fun, good action scenes. Going to Ord Mantell, whatever. I think that's really cool. Having the Zygerian slavers was very cool. I felt like, you're seeing more and more growth of Omega, and she's starting to learn more and figure things out more, being able to take care of herself more. But a couple things that stood out to me. Again, another episode with no Crosshair, which it would be really good, I think, to get maybe a quick scene or snippet of where he is and what he's doing while the Bad Batch is off doing this. Wrecker's still having the headaches. And so that's a concern for me. And I will admit, I think Moochie threw me for a curveball. I thought Moochie was going to be an individual, a person, and not a Rancor. So what
is that the Rancor?
Well, see, and that brought up another thing, Mass. Just like we've seen these little bitty hiccups here or there are some people saying that in the Aftermath books, that Rancor was named Patissa. But it was in a book. It wasn't in a movie. It wasn't in an animated series. It wasn't in live action. So I've seen people back and forth saying it is. They just changed the name, or oh no, this is a different. This is Jabba had 2 Rancors. You guys go. Let me know your thoughts. But what did you think about the show overall, and how it went looking for Moochie in the last episode?
The high five was the best for me. I love the little high five between Omega and Wrecker behind everybody's back.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Sid, the informant, the person who was giving them the job, was Rhea Perlman, Carla from Cheers?
Right.
I did not know that.
Yep. So that was
So-
pretty cool.
So do you think that they're going to go see Rex because of Wrecker's headaches?
I do.
Yeah.
I
do
think they're
too.
going to have to search somebody out that they know of that may
Mhm.
have a little more info.
Agreed. And
I
I think
think-
Tech's working on the right gear to find things and do all that, but I think they need to hear the ins and outs from Rex. Yes.
Mhm.
I thought the Sid, was it Sid?
Yeah.
That whole deal right there really reminded me of the Bounty Hunter Nintendo GameCube game from, that would have been the early 2000s, I think, with Jango Fett. That was centered around Jango Fett.
Okay.
He every mission he had a contact like that was giving him his bounties.
Okay.
Looks kind of similar, sounded kind of similar.
Good.
I know you guys aren't game guys, but
Mass
it
probably
struck me.
played it, but I never did.
I didn't have the Nintendo. That one in the 2000s, I didn't have it. That's why I never got to play it.
That was a really good game.
I bet.
So overall, we've got what, 5 episodes in now, right? 5 episodes in, or is that 4 for Bad Batch?
Mm,
I think it's 4, but it should be 5 because the first one was a double.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, again, I think, a lot of people, we talked about it last week with Jessica, the Duchess. Yeah, I don't think any of these are filler. Each one of them is leaving a little clue. Each one of them is planting in a seed for something. And, I'm just a big believer that if it's Star Wars, you sit back, you watch it, you take it in and go, okay, I can live with this, or I like that, or that scene was cool. And it takes a lot for me to go, not too sure about that one. So for an animated series that's giving you a half an hour show, they're trying to fill a bunch in there and build the characters, build the storyline. I'm fine with it. I think it's going fine. Obviously, we've discussed it. It did slow down after the first big show. But really, I'm okay with it. I like getting up on Friday morning, seeing what's going on with the crew, and going on from there. I think the overall story will kick into gear as we get further into it. But I'm enjoying Bad Batch so far.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think it's a little hard because you associate it so much with the Clone Wars. It's a little hard without the Jedi there because you're used to seeing the Jedi with the clones.
Yes, they worked hand in hand. Alfie, bringing that up reminds me. There was an article today. It was by somebody who's a Disney insider somewhere, but there was an article today that said, "Is Disney trying to create a Star Wars universe where the Jedi either aren't that important or don't play that big a role, things like that?" Because they're showing you we can have main characters like Din Djarin, and they can lead a series. It's showing you Dr. Afra, who's an archaeologist and not a Jedi at all, neither one of those, and they're leading their series there. Do you guys feel like Disney is leaning that way? Or I mean, with High Republic, it's all based on the Jedi. Admittedly, I'm not keeping up with it right now, but it's all based about the Jedi. I mean, we've got the Ahsoka series coming out. We got the Kenobi series coming out. Yes, we've got the Andor series, but I have a feeling there's going to be some intermingling and talk and discussion of Jedi, or maybe a renegade Jedi who's still out there. Do you guys think Disney might lean that way, or you think it's just where we are right now?
I think it's where we are right now, and it's like a post that I commented on Facebook. I got into discussion about the Luke scene in The Mandalorian. we're getting to that stage in these stories where you kind of can't have the Jedi in them because that Jedi alone takes too much away from the story, which is why Luke made sense in The Mandalorian, because we didn't need that Jedi's backstory about how he was there, how he was still alive, how he escaped Order 66. What's he been doing since then? And then that just goes on and on and on. Now, this is a show about the Bad Batch. So right now they don't need a Jedi in that story to kind of pull away from the main objective of where we're going. Maybe on down the line, one might come in.
Agreed. I think you're going to see some Renegade Jedi in this somewhere throughout. Go ahead, Mass. Did you have anything on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, really, the Force is what was so special about Star Wars to begin with. I mean, you can't really, to me, you can't really, have Star Wars without the Force. I mean, I mean, you can, but it's.
Han Solo worked because he was like the opposite of Luke. So even though their stories go away, you still, it's like that feeling at the end of Empire. If they just get back together, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars without the Force becomes Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, and similar to Star Trek, except not related to the planet Earth, right?
It's just a space story, yeah.
It's a space story. The mysticism and the magic and the belief, and it's like how much we love superheroes, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Star Wars allows you to be a space fantasy story with superheroes, right? I mean, it's all mixed in together. They're wearing robes, very similar to capes, right? I mean, they can do things that other people can't do. So I think we all want to have somebody who's bigger and better and that we can look up to and want to emulate and all those kind of things. So you're right. I think the Jedi is a key part of it. You take that away from Star Wars, and I think it's missing something. We've talked about it. Last week we talked about if you're sprinkling Vader in, that's all you need to do. If we discussed it when we were talking about Rex and his character coming out this week in some text. If you sprinkle Rex in throughout Star Wars, that's what you need to do, right? So I think they need to keep sprinkling the Jedi and the Force in every kind of Star Wars, even if it is Rogue One and we just see Vader at the end, or Mandalorian and we see Ahsoka for a few minutes and Luke for a few minutes. That's enough to keep you going with all that. So yeah, I would agree with you on that. So speaking of sprinkling in, you like that? I'm almost a news guy. Segues. Sprinkling in John Boyega. As we've discussed in the past, these sequel characters are they're going to need some money sometime, and they're going to need some fame sometime. And he mentioned in an article recently that if JJ was back and Kathleen was back, he wouldn't mind getting back in there and being Finn again. Any thoughts on anything related to John Boyega, the character of Finn, or anything like that in future Star Wars?
I like who he left out.
Yeah, I think, he said a lot there without saying anything.
He did. He sure did.
Well, I will say this, in the two films that JJ was involved with, he was very much leaning towards the romance, I believe, between Finn and Rey. And he was also leaning in both of him having Force tendencies. So I think that's where he wanted to be. That's what he was sold. I don't know about you guys, but I think back in 2014, he was sold of, you're going to be the coolest guy because you're going to switch from being a stormtrooper and becoming a Jedi in the future, right? So that's why I think he was probably sold. Go ahead, Alfie.
Have you ever seen his reaction video to the Force Awakens trailer?
Yes.
That's what he was sold on.
Yep.
Yes.
You can see it in his reaction right there, and he got shafted.
Yep, he sure did.
And honestly, I thought he would be the one character, because I mentioned this, and I get that, actors are artists in a sense, and some experiences aren't that pleasing making certain types of art. But everyone I've read talk bad about Star Wars has come back he was the only one I thought that would never come back, and he hasn't done it yet. So we don't know if that'll be true or not, but from what he said, it sounds like he's open to the possibility.
Mhm.
And I
think
hope
is
if he
too.
does, they do him right.
Well, I think, was it Brent or Adam Bray? One said, or I think it was a combination of Mass, Brent, and Adam Bray all talking about, is there a market for the sequel characters? Is there a market for things after the sequel movies? I think the most marketable things, since Kylo Ren / Ben Solo is gone, and I personally am not sure I want to see him brought back now afterwards. I'd be more than happy to see things that happen leading up to it. But with the storyline they chose and him fading away, I'm okay with him gone. But the two most marketable things after that are Rey and Finn, in my opinion.
I agree.
I agree.
Ray, definitely. There's so many things you could do with her. I mean, she's so many girls' hero.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be kind of dumb not to do something with Ray, to be honest with you. But
Well,
and
good.
you know, if you bring her back, then you know Finn could come too, because they had a thing.
I agree.
I
I
liked
agree.
that end to the Duel of the Fate script with them having started the Jedi Academy. That was the way, it was originally going to end. I thought that was a good ending.
I agree. 100%. Well, good. Well, I'm glad that the three of us are actually all there. There's no dissension. We're all on the same page on that. So, real quick, has nothing to do with anything else except I was just reading my notes here. My daughter Maddie is in Texas this week. A little quick mini vacation. She went down to
Oh, perfect.
Waco. Yeah, she went down to Waco because she loves Chip and Joe and all that house stuff that they do down there. But she was just in Dallas and Fort Worth area before she comes home, and she stopped by a store there called the Holocron. It's the holocrontoystore.com. You guys have to check this out. She was FaceTiming me from that place. I think my office is full. This store is, it's called the Holocron for a reason. Hi, Azalea. And it was awesome. So anybody who's listening, if you want to see a really cool place, go check out the holocrontoystore.com down in Fort Worth. And obviously, if you live in Texas, you should go there, because I know next time I go to Texas, I'm going to stop by there. But it was just in my notes, and it was just standing out to me. So Nick brought up a good subject. I went to the Indy 500 last on Sunday. It was my first one since 1985. I went with my lovely wife Lori. It was her first ever Indy 500, and took great pictures, great videos. And I posted one, and I said on Twitter, and I said, "Now this is pod racing," and I had all 32 cars that were on the track flew by me in 16 seconds.
Give me the headphones.
Give me the headphones. Azalea, your dad's on the show. You can't have the headphones.
Sorry.
Azalea, 2-year-old Azalea, Alfie's daughter, wants to be a podcaster. So she's jumping in trying to steal his headphones. So anyway, so I was really pumped because I saw this video. You can say hi to me real quick. Hi, Azalea. Put him on. Can you see me?
Well, say hi.
Hi, Azalea.
Can you say hi?
Azalea, the rule is if you put the headphones on, you have to talk. She's smiling. She's smiling a little bit. Okay. Do you want to hear me talk about boring Indy 500 stuff?
Back. Just tell him hi.
I love the airtime. This is good. And that break in the show, folks, was brought to you by Azalea. If you want to have your 6-inch Black Series toys open, this is sponsored by Azalea. She'll take care of that for you. She'll open them right up.
Sorry about that.
You're fine. You're fine. I love that's a great part about the show. We're not too stuffed shirt to be that worried about it. So, and anybody who watches on YouTube, you'll get to see cute Azalea come on and talk. But so I took that video and I posted. Now this is pod racing, and it was really cool because, again, I haven't been to the track or haven't been to the race since 1985. And I thought to myself, how cool and why doesn't the Indianapolis 500, which is on ABC, which is part of Disney, why did they not do marketing like the NFL did with Nickelodeon, where you've got pod racers and 500 cars going around on that track, virtual, obviously, pod racing, but you could have so much fun with that, right? You could do an entire thing. I mean, I don't care. Elio Castroneves can be Sebulba for all I care. I don't know. But I mean, I just thought it was such good marketing and it was a missed opportunity. But so to go along with all that marketing and missed opportunity things, Nick said, okay, now I'm watching this. I see, I'm thinking of a movie. And I'm like, okay, tell me. And he said, I'm thinking, why wouldn't we have a movie all about like the racing circuit or a Disney Plus show, all about the racing circuit of the pod racers, to where every week they're at a different track. You've got behind the scenes drama. You've got gamblers. You've got bounty hunters involved. And he was like, crashes happen, Jawas stealing their parts, Tusken Raiders shooting them down, all that kind of stuff. And he was like, and it's real, it's kind of like a real world mixed into Star Wars. I thought it was fabulous. I think that would be so much fun. So he said, and Alfie will go right to you, but he said, what would be your most obscure Star Wars thing that you would want to be made into a Disney Plus show or a movie? So Alfie, you had something to say, but think about it, Mass and Alfie. What would be your most obscure thing from the Star Wars universe that you'd want to be a Disney Plus show or a Star Wars movie? Go, Alfie.
Okay, we're on the same wavelength here because that's close to my idea for a Max Rebo Sly Snoodles Disney Plus show. The band from Jabba's Palace.
Yes.
On a tour.
Love it.
Cantina to cantina. All underworld, mercenaries, bounty hunters, criminals, gamblers. Every week there's someplace different. They're not really involved in the story so much. It's just the fact that they change locations and there's always something going on in those seedy little parts of the underworld.
I think it would be fun. And you could do it a couple different ways. You could either do it more of an adult style to where it's very intense, or you could draw it back some and make it very cartoonish and have them going around and bad things happen and goofy characters come through and they're more of a Saturday morning cartoon kind of style. But right. I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. So far, pod racing scene, the band, Mass. What about you? Any thoughts on a crazy Disney Plus or crazy movie that would be based on something obscure from Star Wars?
Well, I could always see that. I forgot her name, but it's where Mando landed, and she was the woman that watched
Pelimoto, right?
Yeah, I can see her having her own show just about what happens there when the people come and land, and it can be like that.
Absolutely love it. It's like the Love Boat version. I mean, it's she's almost a cruise director, Julie from the Love Boat. But with her being from Elf and being so funny in that show, she was also in Monk. She played a very good role in there. She would do great at that. And you're right. That would be so much fun. Different people coming through every week, getting into hijinks. I'm all for it. I think it's really, really good. So you know what, Disney, if you're listening, three, I think we've got 3 banger lit ideas for you right there. So Nick, thank you for bringing that up. And I'll tell you what, Nick, you'll listen, and why don't you tweet back to us and let us know your idea of a crazy show or whatever. To let everybody know, Brent was busy tonight. Nick is traveling to Chicago. Tony and Vinny, I'm going to have to steal them away from their current lifestyle to bring them back into the fold. And let's just face it, Joey's a busy guy, and we'll get him back on soon because I'm trying to get him and T-Bob back on together because they're always a fun twosome on here. Bombad Brad brought up to us on Twitter and said, I know you talked about it last week, but he said, I want to go back and get your ideas on the state of the Rangers of the New Republic Is it delay because of Cara Dune? Is it that they're looking to rebuild the story around maybe Hera or the X-Wing pilots? What are your thoughts? Brad, I do agree with you. I do think the initial thing was Cara Dune was going to be the lead character. Personally, if Hera is the lead new person on that thing, I would be all for that. I love Hera to death, and if it's her leading the group, like on the Alphabet Squadron, I'd be all for that. Guys, would you agree? Are there other things you see in the mix for that? Go ahead, Mass.
Well, I think it was absolutely about Cara Dune, and I would imagine that they had all the scripts written out and everything, and so they basically had to start over. I would imagine, and so it's probably either on hold till they rewrite, or it might be done with, depending on what they want to do. Hera would be great.
I agree.
But, yeah.
I think Alfie, timeline help here. This is going to be going on around the time of The Mandalorian and the time of the Ahsoka series, right?
That's what I thought.
As Alfie gets hit by a
Yeah.
lightsaber. Oh, we're talking. For those of you not watching on YouTube, you're missing because Alfie just got clocked by his daughter with a lightsaber. So yeah, I agree. But what a better way to get that Rebels reunion that everybody wanted, that Rebels sequel, than to have Ahsoka chasing down Thrawn, who's possibly with Ezra, maybe have to rope Sabine back into it, or maybe Hera takes the place of Cara Dune and brings Sabine along with her if Ahsoka obviously is now separated from Sabine. So I don't know. I think it's all good. It all works in the timeline for me. So
I'm sorry.
She's adorable.
That'd be a really cool show, though, if they all did come back together like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I was excited for this one because from the sequel trilogy and then the Mandalorian show, we've got some snippets of that the New Republic was really dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought that's where this was going to go, looking for these installations that are out in the outer rim, putting the pieces together, leading us to the First Order, the cloning, whatever. And having grown up with Legends, where the New Republic was, a pretty solid government. Yeah, we had our imperial hijinks and all that kind of stuff, but, they had their stuff in order. That really interested me, the idea of, no, it was just an absolute clown show. So I wanted to see more of that.
Right.
I want to know more about that time. Why was it so dysfunctional? It's kind of mirrors the, the revolutions we see in life. You have that goal of overthrowing something, but when you do, then what do you do with it?
That's right. You get the ball.
Fighting is one thing, but then actually governing afterwards, it usually turns into a mess. So that really interested me.
Agreed.
I hope eventually we get to see more of that. And Leia breaking away from the Republic and going back out, not really a rebellion, but saying, hey, there's something out here. We've got to fight.
That was touched on in the Bloodline book, correct? Where
a little bit.
Yeah, and where she had to break off because the government wasn't believing in her, thinking the First Order was out there going on and all that.
Right, and disbanding the military and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it would be a good storyline. Look, Rangers of the New Republic was one of the ones that I was looking forward to. I hope it's still going to happen, and I hope that they're just tinkering with it and putting a new storyline in place or reforming the story around some things. I'm going to throw this out there because it's somewhat Star Wars related as it leads into our superhero discussion a little bit here. As you know, think the world of Matt Lanter. I think he was excellent at as Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. I thought he was great in the show Timeless. But I am through 7 out of the 8 episodes on Jupiter's Legacy. So this is Star Wars related here. Again, we were just talking about superheroes and, how Star Wars needs those as well. I have one more episode to watch. I believe it's 8 episodes, right, Mass?
Yep. I
So
finished.
yeah, I was gonna say I got through 7. I've got one more to watch, which I'll watch probably tonight or tomorrow. I have absolutely loved the show. Thought it was great.
Me
Mass,
too.
you've watched all 8, correct?
Yep.
Alfie, have you checked? You just watched something of the Dead or Army of the
Army
Dead?
of the Dead.
Okay.
Yeah. I
So
just started that show.
Jupiter's Legacy.
Yes.
Okay.
He's great in that, by the way. He's George, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Oh yeah, I think he's great in it. I think he plays that role very well. He's a little
Yeah.
pomp, a little confidence, a little swag about him, even though
Mhm.
he's lost all of his money by the time that we got to the end. I've loved it.
Thanks for spoiling that.
Yeah, well, you'll see it. I'm not giving away anything else. That's it. He loses his money. But I do love how it hops back and forth from the 1920s and early 1930s to present day. I think the story they've done, the kids of these superheroes, just I really, really like it. Unlike The Boys, which I thought was going to be similar to this is much more the direction I want to go. Yes, it's more adult. Yes, there's more adult themes to it, but I still feel like it's not just completely grotesque, throw it in your face kind of stuff like The Boys was. So, Alfie, yes, you need to zoom through that. I will finish the last episode, like I said, tonight or tomorrow. But thumbs up to Matt Lanter. Very happy for him that he's doing some good things. Timeless, I thought was a great show. Like I said, he as we mentioned previously, he said he never puts Anakin away. I think there's some things in the work that we might still hear him do an Anakin voice, which is great. But I was really happy for him that this show has been so popular. And Mass, you're not allowed to spoil the last episode because you've already watched it. But I'm going to be checking that out. Alfie, I will not say anything more good, bad, or indifferent about it, except I really think you're going to enjoy it. So
Yeah, I just started it today.
Yeah.
So I like it so far.
good.
But
good, good.
Army of the Dead was really good if you like zombie movies, which I happen to like zombie movies.
Well, you know what? I've only seen that. What was that one? World War Z?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I've ever seen. I've never watched Dawn of the Dead or Walking Dead or any of that stuff. So, actually what I'm binging with my wife right now is another rewatch of Ozark. That show, wow.
Yeah, that's a
is
good
just
show.
Intense. Yeah, it pushes some buttons. So we had talked about it a while back, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. But looking at the world building that Disney Plus is doing right now and making that A-team or that MCU kind of feel and vibe of bringing all these shows together. Alfie, you've mentioned it a number of times. Mass and I were texting back and forth today, and I also had read that the Avengers campus is going to be opening soon, if it hasn't already opened, out at Disneyland in California. So while they've got Galaxy's Edge, they've now added in the Avengers campus and a Spider-Man ride and some other things like that. So I think that's really cool. So to tie that in, Mass, we discussed talking about Marvel and the MCU. As you know, I'm a big Captain America fan. I've got it now like probably about 1/6 of my office is Captain America. But we're overall looking at how they built the MCU, just go in that direction. Give me some of your thoughts. You've watched all the movies. I watched all the movies. Watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Watched WandaVision. Where do you guys think that sits and stands? How do you think it compares to Star Wars? And then, what's better or worse than what Star Wars is currently doing or has done? The floor is wide open. Give me some thoughts. Alfie, you raise your hand. Go ahead and start first.
Okay, there is an ongoing feud about the sequel trilogies online, and the one camp of you should have had a plan, and then the constant comeback is always, well, George Lucas didn't have a plan. He did things on the fly. He was, rewriting Attack of the Clones on the plane ride to Australia or whatever. And that's all well and good, but George Lucas didn't have the MCU to compete with.
True.
So when you see 20 movies come together with a coherent storyline, you can't, the same company then say, hey, we're just going to wing this $4 billion thing we just bought. You know, hey, you guys got any ideas? Let's just throw them all together and we'll see what sticks.
Yeah, you can't do it now because they don't compare. They don't compare at all.
No, we're going into phase 4 of Marvel, and now you got Disney Plus shows, that are filling in gaps, and it all runs together. And you know, you can't have that and compete with Marvel.
Now, I will say this: there's obviously, like you said, the camp always comes back to George didn't have a plan; he was just winging it. Well, here's the thing: George made the whole thing up, so he can wing it, right? You're allowed to wing it, and you're allowed to change things on a whim because it's your baby, it's your project. And people sitting there saying, "Well, you know, it's okay for this sequel trilogy to not have a plan because George didn't have a plan." Well, when George created the first trilogy, there was nothing else around it. That was it. So whatever world building that wanted to go around it or outside of it, he got to control that. And when it came back to building the prequels, well, guess what? Could he tinker with it? Yes. But he knew where he wanted to start and he knew where he wanted to finish because he had to finish a certain way to get you back to the original trilogy. Was it loved by everybody? Was it an immediate success? No, there were problems. There were people who didn't like it, all that kind of stuff. And I think, again, a lot of people call those people what, gatekeepers or something like that. I don't pay attention enough to know that, but like, this is this and this is that, and you can't do this, whatever. But it was George's baby and he was doing it on his own dime, doing it his way. So I give him the freedom to do that. Once that $4 billion was spent, you're right. You need to now compare yourself because what the MCU started in what, 2008, 9? When did Iron Man come out?
So it's got to be right around there.
Yeah. So between 2008, 9, and 10 and 2018, whatever, 2018, 2019, when it finished, you know, they created an entire plan around it. Could they still tinker with it? Yes. Could they add some things in? Yes. Could they take some things out? Yes. I think one of the things that gets me is the comment, and I'm going to butcher it. So whoever's listening, I'm not hating. This is a synopsis kind of. Kathleen Kennedy said, well, we have no guidebooks. We have no books and history to build this on. But they do, and they did. And the MCU had the same thing. I've got right here the Marvel Encyclopedia that Mr. Adam Bray, our good friend, helped create. And I've been reading through that bit by bit. The amount of storylines that each Marvel character had in comic books for years, there's no way you could encapsulate that into one thing. But they took the best little snippets out of each of those stories and placed them into the MCU and made them work into the MCU. We had comics from 1977 through 1985. We had the Thrawn trilogy. We had all the expanded universe. We had the role-playing games. All those things. You just take the best snippets and put them in there. Where they missed on the sequel trilogy with doing that, I believe they're doing that now with the Disney Plus series. Would you agree? They're taking the things from those and saying, we can slice that in. We can place that in there. Even in the comics and the novels now, they're bringing back old characters from the late 1970s, early 1980s in the comic books and putting those back in. I mean, that's the way you have to do it. So, yeah, any of your thoughts on the comparison, the comparison, the contrast, anything like that? Anybody want to hit that some more?
Well, I just think that it doesn't really compare because Marvel did it so well. I mean, everything is consistent. The little images of what's coming next at the end of each movie. It was so planned out so well. I love watching them. For me, I guess I'm kind of like Brent when it comes to Marvel because I was never a comic book reader. So I don't know any of these. I know who, like, from Saturday morning cartoons and that kind of stuff, who people are, but I mean, the movies are so good, dude. Like the end of Infinity War
Mm-hmm.
and then Endgame, that is incredible. I mean, that whole thing, that whole movie is great. And I think my favorite one now at the moment is the Winter Soldier.
Hard to beat Winter Soldier.
That's a good one.
Dude, when they're in the elevator and he's like, hey, before we get started, does anybody want to get out? That is just so fantastic, man. They're great movies.
So I will say this. I did not watch any. I watched the initial Iron Man when it came out back whenever. But after that, I did not watch one Marvel movie until everything was on Disney Plus. Did not. Life was in the way. It was not something where I was like, oh, I need to spend the time doing that. I've always been a Star Wars guy. So I was like, I'm not going to take away from my wife and kids already more time to do that. But Lori and I, during COVID and during downtime, said, what's something we can jump into? And we binge watch a bunch of shows. And I said, you want to give this a try? Let's give it a try on the Marvels. It's not Star Wars. It's something you and I can bond together over, right? And she absolutely loved them. The one movie
your office is Captain America.
Mm-hmm. The one, believe it or not, the one movie she did not like very much, the first Avenger, Captain America, because it was set in World War II. She likes the present day storyline, but I told her you had to see that to know where it went. That's all.
Right.
That was it. So she's learned to deal with it, but now she'll watch Civil War, Winter Soldier, all those with Cap in them, and then the endings. Her guy is Iron Man. She loves everything to do with Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and all that. She thinks he's very cool, and he is. I mean, let's face it. I think we all wish we could be Tony Stark. But now that we're done with that whole segment, I'll turn this around and say, I've talked to a few people who've been on our show about the next wave. And there's already, and I think I posted on Twitter, that there's already feedback, negativity on the Eternals, this next batch, and so I'm interested to see, because Jessica from last week said we all love Dave Filoni, we all believe in Dave Filoni, but gosh, when he makes that first wrong move, how are we all going to react, right? Is the Eternals the first wrong move? Now, some people say Captain Marvel was the first wrong move. Some people say that was kind of jammed in, that was kind of shoehorned into it, and it didn't really fit. I didn't like the first 20 minutes of Captain Marvel, but after that, I thought it was a really fun movie. I really enjoyed it. And now that I've seen it all the way through, I get it and I see it all. But Alfie, some thoughts off my rambling there.
With Marvel, are we getting too far away from the source to where now we're getting into stuff that people aren't familiar with? You can only stretch so many stories, like the 6 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon or whatever,
Right.
You can only go so far away from Iron Man before you get into stuff that, now the average viewer is going, what's this? Where's Captain America at? Can we get back to that kind of stuff? Because I don't know any of these stories. I don't know any of these characters. Not saying that they're not good stories or good characters. I'm just saying at this point, 20 years later, we're getting removed from those stories that the average person is familiar with or can associate, because there's little snippets of Iron Man or other characters, or this attaches to that story. The Tesseract is here, and now I understand this movie, and
right.
I'm still interested.
Well, one of my thoughts on that was this. They've had a good run. They've had a good run with Chris Pratt and Hemsworth and Chris Evans and down the line, right? Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson. They've had a good run. But in real life, they do age. In real life, we we talked about in Star Wars. Can you replace that character? Can you blur it to where the next person takes over and it's without missing a beat? So I think they have to. I think they have to say we're going to do a little bit more of Thor, a little bit more of Guardians of the Galaxy, a little bit more of Doctor Strange, Ant-Man. But Paul Rudd's at my age. He's 52, 53 years old. He looks great for a 52, 53-year-old guy. Scarlett Johansson is a beautiful woman. There's plenty of years, of course. Spoiler alert: she dies off in the Avengers movies, but they're still making a Black Widow movie. So I think it was a right move to say, okay, we're going to make this run and run its course, and then we're going to take that next batch of Marvel comics and make them into, Luke Cage, right? The Iron Fist,
Daredevil.
The Fantastic Four. You can now bring in that next X-Men, right? We had a batch of the X-Men going on in the 90s and 2000s. That's kind of gone by the wayside. You can bring a whole new batch of those in and take what you've done already in the Marvel universe, clear out Thor, clear out Iron Man, clear out Captain America, which they've already done with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Get that story bypassed and say, here's our next batch. So I think they are doing the right thing. So I don't know. I mean, am I way off on that, or you think that's the right way to go? Saying that, Iron Man. I grew up being a comic book guy. I loved to grab a comic book here or there and read through them. Iron Man was he was not Spider-Man. He wasn't Hulk. He wasn't Captain America. He was Iron Man. I mean, he was like a second or third tier guy compared to them, but he's the one that kicked this all off. And now Iron Man's bigger than anything. So who's the next one in Marvel that's going to do that? I have a feeling that Black Panther, rest his soul, he could have been that for the next 10 or 15 years, possibly. But I don't know. You guys, I've rambled enough on it. What are your guys' thoughts on some of those points right there?
I think they're kind of doing what they have to. I mean, it's really the only way to go. But we'll see how it pans out. I mean, they really don't. I mean, you can't really just at this point in time stop and start over.
Mm-mm.
So you've got to see what else is going and what kind of hits and snags and go with that. But I mean, you can't go with those characters forever. I mean, basically as far as people that don't read the comic books are concerned, I mean, that story's kind of over. You know what I mean? I mean, you could follow Thor around. I mean, he's a couple thousand years old anyway.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, you could follow him forever, but Tony's dead. And
Black Widow's dead.
Cap's old.
Cap's gone. Yeah.
No one's ever really gone in comic books. You think it's bad in Star Wars. They're never gone. Cap got shot in the head and he came back.
Hey, speaking of that, we got the HBO Max, and I watched that Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, which I did not like when it came out, Justice League.
I did not care for it either.
But the new one, the Zack Snyder one, is damn good. And I don't like DC movies all that much, but they need to sign that guy up for a long-term deal with something. He needs a series of his own because it was fantastic.
I think
He
he's
had
out.
one.
He's out at Disney though now, or at DC, right? They've got him out of there now.
Yeah, it's done and over with.
And
I mean, I'm talking about he needs like a trilogy.
Well, it's supposed to be a trilogy.
Yeah, but I mean, Star Wars trilogy.
Well, he was up for something. Did you guys see that? The rumors?
Yes.
He was up for something, and then when things went south on the extra Star Wars movies between new numbered movies, that kind of went by the wayside. It just kind of got pushed off to the side and never brought up again. I don't remember what exactly happened, but he was working on a project from what the rumor mill was saying. So yeah, I so far I've liked Wonder Woman. I thought the initial Wonder Woman was good. I didn't really care for Aquaman. I didn't really care for Justice League. I haven't seen the extended cut. But the last ones I really liked, DC, were the trilogy of the Christopher Nolan Batmans. That was the ones that I really enjoyed. So yeah, I haven't really been sold on a lot of the DC part of it yet. Go ahead, Alfie.
Okay, sorry about all that. I'm going to try to jump back in here with this Marvel that you're talking about.
Yeah.
My problem personally with the next phase is it's going to be really hard for me to get excited about Marvel again. And that's nothing against Marvel. It has nothing to do with directors, films, choices, any of that. This goes back to would have been like 95, 96 is when I first read about the MCU in Wizard magazine.
Yep, I remember you saying that.
So had decades of anticipation for Infinity War and Endgame. I just don't see I'm always going to watch Marvel movies. I'll always enjoy them. Same with the Disney Plus series, but I'll never have that anticipation of that storyline again, knowing that all those movies were building up to my personal favorite comic book, which was the Infinity Gauntlet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it's hard once you've got to that point. It's really going to have to rev your engine up to
Right.
get you going. and I'm looking forward to the next batch, the Ant-Man and Wasp movie, the Doctor Strange movie, the next Thor, and the next Guardians of the Galaxy. Or they merge together. Is that the Thor for Love and Thunder or something like that?
I don't know.
But
I thought they were going to be together. I'm sure they will, to some extent.
Yeah. So I mean, I will watch those, but I'm really gonna have to be like sold because I don't know anything about the Eternals. I asked Steve Glosson. I'll tell you what, you want to between Adam Bray and Steve Glosson, you just throw out a character name or a superhero group, they just know them, and it's really kind of scary. But I was like, I asked Steve, I was like, who the heck are the Eternals? I don't even know who they are. And he walked me through and told me who they were. So, I mean, I stopped reading the comics. I didn't pay attention to them, but but I think they're the ones that are supposed to be the lead, like, right? Isn't that supposed to be the superhero group that everything rallies around is the Eternals? Because they're like
I think
immortals,
so.
right? So I don't know.
Really know much about them. But then, you look at like WandaVision.
Love
how many average viewers knew what that book meant? I had to look it up, and I was page after page of reference to, going from storyline to storyline to storyline. And like, gee, how did I never read a comic with this book in it before?
Yeah. Sometimes it's best not to know, right, Mass?
Yeah, I have no idea. I've seen the first episode of WandaVision, and I got done and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? Because it didn't make any damn sense at all. And so
it gets crazier every episode, Mass.
Because I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I loved that. I thought that was great.
Really well done.
So I'm like, sign me up for WandaVision. And like, what?
WandaVision was a slow burn. Yeah. It really took a while to get going somewhere.
Yeah, right now I'd like to set it on fire, so slow burn makes sense.
All right. So, we're going to wrap this back into Star Wars here, okay? So, we're as we finish up here, we're talking MCU, we're talking DC, we're talking Star Wars. Would you rather see a new trilogy of Star Wars? Would you rather or see really well done DC movies that feed into something like the MCU, Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Flash, all that, something like you're talking about, Mass, with the Snyder Cut? Or would you rather see the continuation of the MCU and we'll see where it goes from here? What out of those three, which would you want the most? A new trilogy, a new thing like the Snyder Cut going in DC, or more the MCU? Mass, go ahead.
Personally, I'd rather see a new Star Wars trilogy. One that was like the stuff that we're getting now on Disney Plus. If
Okay.
you could capture that into a trilogy, that's what I'd rather see. I personally would like to see new characters, new Jedi, that kind of thing. I'm kind of I loved the Marvel movies, but I think I'd rather see a new Star Wars movie than a new Marvel movie. And I don't trust the DC movies. I've only seen one that I liked, and it was a remake, the Zack Snyder cut. So I'm going with Star Wars. That's what I would like to see.
Okay. Alfie?
That's a tough one for me because besides Captain America, Superman is my favorite comic book character. I never was a big DC comic book reader,
Mm-hmm.
except for Superman. And to me, he's just the greatest,
For
the
sure.
encapsulation of the greatest that you can be. That's why I enjoyed the Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, Justice League, all that. I liked it. But that portrayal of the broody Superman just really didn't sit well with me. That's not Superman. So I would like to see, a Christopher Reeves-esque Superman movie. I know the old ones are campy and all that, but for
I
the
loved 'em.
time,
I love them.
yeah. I don't understand why they didn't have the Superman theme at least once in all of those movies.
Mhm.
So I would like to see, a DC version of Superman that was really good. But I agree with Mass. I'd more rather see this storyline of the Disney Plus series continue on into a new trilogy.
Okay. Mass, go ahead.
Well, Alfie brought up Man of Steel. I absolutely loved the first half of that movie,
Yes.
and then once two immortal guys start fighting and just ripping a whole city apart.
It turned into a Transformers movie.
It did.
was
But the
it was
first half of
too
that
fast,
was,
too blurry.
yeah, the first half was really good. I thought
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Kevin Costner in those DC movies, that was so well written and acted.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so emotional, and it was just absolutely perfect. That
Yeah.
may have been my favorite part of the Superman films.
Mhm.
Really? Okay. Well, I will say this. I absolutely loved the Superman movies from the late 70s, early 80s. Christopher Reeves was fabulous. I know, like you said, they were kind of campy. They were kind of, cartoonish, if you want to say that, but I loved them. And it was part of nostalgia. Like I can watch those movies and it makes me feel like I'm an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid again and just have fun with them. That is the kind of Superman I do like. I like that that all American rip the shirt, the S on the chest, change in the phone booth. I know it's dorky and quirky, but I just that's what I liked about it. The DC movies, like I said, besides the Batman movies, the Michael Keaton Batman movies, and then the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, Batman's getting so dark on me now. I know he was dark in the Nolan movies, but there was something about those movies that the characters were just so well done that I couldn't turn away from them. Heath Ledger, gosh, I mean, that Joker right there was just off the charts good.
I can't rewatch that movie just because of him.
Really?
Yeah, he's too good. It's
He is. He's really, really good. But look, I mean, we run a Star Wars podcast. And I will say I agree with you guys that more than anything, I just want good Star Wars product coming out. I love the Disney Plus stuff. I do. I look forward to it every week. I think it's great that we have all that right there at our fingertips. I think it's going to bring more fans to Star Wars overall. But what I really want to see is that thing where we can all get together, go to a movie theater, grab our popcorn, grab our candy, and just sit back for 2.5 hours and not even have to look at each other, just all be having those same feelings at the same time. So there's something about going to a Star Wars movie. It was that way for me in the prequels with my son. It was that way in the original trilogy for me. You know, Rogue One was fabulous. Force Awakens, I loved. The other movies, they were a Star Wars experience, and I went with friends and family, so it made it an experience. So yeah, for me, I would say while I loved everything to do with the MCU, definitely would have to go to another Star Wars trilogy. So, um, any thoughts we haven't touched on? Anything before we go to close up shop, or anything you guys want to hit on that we haven't talked about before we say goodnight? Yes, no, maybe so.
My mind just went blank. I had something about Superman and it just like went away.
Well, you know what? We'll bring it up on the next episode. We'll leap tall buildings in a single bound. So I'll tell you what, guys, it's been a long show. We've talked about a little bit of everything. Again, thank you for all the people who listen. Thank you for all the people who comment and give us thoughts and ideas on Twitter and emails. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us, rulethe@gmail.com. Reach out to Mass, reach out to Alfie. They do lots of fun content on Twitter, and they'll say nice, funny comments back to you, and maybe Mass will even say some mean comments back to you. I don't know, but but we all three, for Alfie, for Mass, thank you so much again, and we really appreciate it. And we love being a part of this, and we love being a part of the Star Wars community. So for the Rule of the Galaxy crew, until next week, may the Force be with you.